Sam Mostyn panics as Aussies drop massive bombshell about Labour after Bondi massacre. Sam Mostyn just admitted on national television that Australians are demanding she sack the government. Not a handful of angry letters, not a few social media trolls, many people, her words. The Governor-General of Australia just confirmed that the public rage over the Bondi massacre, over the government's handling of terrorism, over Anthony Albanese's pathetic refusal to name radical Islam has reached such a fever pitch that ordinary Australians are invoking the nuclear option. They want Labor gone, not at the next election, now. And Mostyn's panic is showing, because this is not supposed to happen. This is not how the script is supposed to go, but Australians have had enough, and the establishment knows it. If you want analysis that cuts through the spin and holds every side accountable, subscribe and click the notifications bell. This channel does not protect politicians. We protect the truth, regardless of who it embarrasses. Let us be crystal clear about what Sam Mostyn just revealed. The Governor-General does not casually mention public calls for her to dismiss a government unless those calls are loud, persistent, and impossible to ignore. This is not normal political grumbling. This is not the usual partisan noise that ebbs and flows with the news cycle. This is a genuine crisis of confidence. Australians are so furious, so disillusioned, so convinced that their government has failed them on the most basic duty of keeping them safe, that they are reaching for constitutional mechanisms that have not been seriously invoked in decades. And Mostyn is rattled. You can hear it in her words. She is not dismissing these calls, she is acknowledging them, and that acknowledgement is itself a bombshell. Here is why this matters to you. When the public starts demanding the dismissal of a government outside of an election, it means trust has collapsed. It means the usual channels of accountability, the usual democratic processes feel inadequate to the scale of the failure. It means people believe the situation is so dire, the government's incompetence so dangerous, that waiting for the next election is not an option. And right now, that is exactly where we are. Albanese's refusal to name radical Islam, his mealy-mouthed responses to terrorism, his prioritisation of political correctness over public safety has pushed Australians past their breaking point. They do not just want him to do better, they want him gone. This is where the story gets worse, because Mostyn did not just acknowledge the calls to sack the government, she acknowledged that people have been calling for her to sack governments before, plural, meaning this is not a new phenomenon, meaning Australians have been so fed up with their political leaders across multiple governments that they have been invoking the Governor-General's reserve powers repeatedly, and yet nothing has changed. The governments remain, the failures continue, the public frustration builds, and now, after Bondi, after watching terrorists attack Jewish Australians celebrating Hanukkah, after watching Albanese dodge and deflect and refuse to speak honestly, that frustration has erupted into something much more serious. Let us talk about what triggered this. The Bondi massacre was not just another terror attack. It was an attack on a specific community during a specific religious celebration by attackers motivated by a specific ideology, and the government's response was an insult. Albanese could not name the ideology, his ministers talked in circles, security agencies issued vague warnings, the Jewish community was left terrified and abandoned, and ordinary Australians watched it happen in real time. They watched their Prime Minister prioritise optics over honesty. They watched him refuse to answer straightforward questions. They watched him treat the victims' families and the broader public like children who could not handle the truth. And they snapped.
This is the part nobody wants to talk about, because acknowledging that Australians are calling for the Governor-General to sack the government means acknowledging that our democracy is in serious trouble. It means acknowledging that the normal mechanisms of accountability, elections, parliamentary oversight, media scrutiny, are not working. It means acknowledging that people feel so powerless, so ignored, so betrayed by their elected leaders that they are turning to constitutional measures that were designed for extreme circumstances. And the fact that we are at this point, the fact that these calls are loud enough for the Governor-General to feel compelled to address them publicly, should terrify anyone who cares about stability and governance. Now, let us be absolutely clear about the Governor-General's role, because there is a lot of confusion about this. The Governor-General does have reserve powers. She can, in theory, dismiss a government, but those powers are meant for extraordinary situations: government unable to function, loss of parliamentary confidence, constitutional crisis. The Whitlam dismissal in 1975 is the only modern precedent, and it remains one of the most controversial moments in Australian political history. Mostyn is not going to sack Albanese. She cannot and she will not dismiss a government simply because it is unpopular or because people are angry. But the fact that she is even having to address these calls publicly tells you everything you need to know about how bad things have gotten. Here's what this means in practical terms. Albanese is governing on borrowed time, not just until the next election. Right now, today, his authority is crumbling, his credibility is shot, and the public's faith in his ability to lead, to protect, to be honest, has evaporated. Mostyn's comments confirm it. When the Governor-General is fielding calls to sack you, you are not just unpopular, you are in crisis. And Albanese knows it, which is why his government is in full panic mode, desperately trying to change the subject, to move on, to make Bondi and the questions it raised disappear from the headlines. But it is not working, because Australians are not moving on, they are getting angrier. Let us talk about the broader pattern, because this is not just about one attack or one Prime Minister's failures. This is about a political class that has lost touch with the people it is supposed to serve. Australians are demanding that their leaders speak honestly about threats. They are demanding action, not platitudes. They are demanding that safety come before politics, and they are being ignored over and over again by Labor, by previous coalition governments, by state leaders, by bureaucrats, by everyone in power who is more concerned with managing perceptions than managing reality. And the Bondi Massacre was the moment when that disconnect became too glaring to ignore. Let us talk about what happens next, because this is not going away. Mostyn can try to calm the waters, she can explain the limits of her powers, she can reassure people that the democratic process will run its course, but none of that will matter if Albanese does not change, if he does not start being honest, if he does not start prioritising safety over politics, if he does not start treating Australians like adults who deserve the truth. And right now there is no sign that he is capable of any of that, which means the anger will keep building, the calls for his removal will keep getting louder, and the crisis of confidence will keep deepening. This is the part that should keep Albanese awake at night, because when the Governor-General is publicly acknowledging calls for your dismissal, you have lost control of the narrative, you have lost the political centre, you have lost the trust of the people who elected you. And in Australian politics, once you lose that trust, you do not get it back. Not with press conferences, not with policy announcements, not with carefully staged photo opportunities. The damage is done, and Mostyn's comments just made that damage official. Here's the brutal truth. Albanese is facing a reckoning, not from the opposition, not from the media, but from the Australian people. They are done with his word games. They are done with his refusal to name threats. Sam Mostyn did not have to say what she said. She could have deflected, she could have downplayed the calls, she could have dismissed them as fringe noise, but she did not. She acknowledged them, publicly, on national television, and that acknowledgement is a warning to Albanese, a warning to his government, a warning to every politician who thinks they can ignore public anger indefinitely. The Australian people are not just frustrated, they are demanding action, and if they don't get it through normal democratic channels, they will keep looking for alternatives. That's the message Mostyn just delivered, and it is a message Albanese cannot afford to ignore. Thank you for watching.